listening to Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1. We're looking at these stories making the headlines. As always, we love it when you are a part of the conversation. The WhatsApp number to send your messages to is 0809 4440981. You can also tweet at Smooth981. My analysts this morning, Cheta and Chibuzor. Good morning.
Good morning, Lagos. Good morning, Nigeria.
Hey, Cheta, you're not winning a Grammy anytime soon, are you?
Come on.
All right, so let us know what your thoughts are. We're starting off with a headline that comes from the Vanguard, and this is very closely related to another story from Punch. Now, the army has warned troublemakers in the Southeast and has gone on to assure Southeastern residents of adequate security before, during, and after the general elections. Now, he says that the general officer commanding 82 Division, Major General Aminu Chinade, has warned that troublemakers better be ready to stay clear of the zone, as the Nigerian army is highly prepared and motivated to, let's just say, to do what they are supposed to do. Now, still moving on to the other headline from Punch, Mr. Simon Ekpa has been released after being arrested and grilled or interrogated by the Finnish police.
So I think let's start with the Simon Ekpa thing. About time. I say about time. At least considering the fact that the man is a coward, what is going to happen is that the small greeting that they gave him, even though they've released him now, Finnish, general European countries are not like Nigeria where they will detain him indefinitely. They've released him, but he's going to become a bit more cautious because one of the things that Finland does quite well is to strip people of citizenship if they decide that you are an undesirable. So it's good news. He's caused a lot of havoc in the Southeast. So the less we hear of him, the better. It leads into the first story about the army warning troublemakers in the region. The army would do well to warn troublemakers all around Nigeria. Although personally, I'm not very comfortable with the idea of securitizing our elections. One of the reasons why we have gotten to where we are in Nigeria is what is the concept of escalation of force, because we've essentially sidelined the police for what should otherwise be internal affairs, and we use the army as basically the go-to tool for everything. What has happened is that various criminal elements have begun to try to match the army fire for fire. It never ends well. It's something that we should have been. Everybody knows that Nigeria's security issues have been on the rise. So it's something that we should have been thinking through how to de-escalate. De-escalation is actually a valid tool for solving security. I think it's too late now. The army is deployed. I mean, heck, the army is deployed even here in Lagos, different parts of Lagos. It's, again, while I understand, it's important to say that I don't agree with it.
So speaking about Mr. Simon Ekpa, what does this arrest and release mean for his followers, his supporters, who perhaps are a bit ignorant of how things work?
His supporters generated to the lowest IQ. You are not going to. I don't expect them to. I don't expect it to change. What I expect is that I expected that he would have given a sort of speech today that would have caused trouble in the election process. I think it's important to point out something that a lot of polls of opinion polls, it's important to put that expression opinion. Put Peter Obi, who happens to be from the Southeast, as a front runner in tomorrow's election. If that goes through and Peter Obi does win, the reason that IPOB exists ceases to be valid in the eyes of many Igbo people, and that's so for IPOB, for organizations such as IPOB, a Peter Obi win is actually existential, and that's a very important way to look at it. So essentially, what Finland has done by arresting him yesterday is potentially taking him out of the equation. And that is very interesting for tomorrow's fun and games.
All right, well, let us know what your thoughts are. The WhatsApp number is 0809 444 0981. And let's go on to Punch for the next story. Now, this one has to do with commercial transport workers in the States complaining about multiple taxation or multiple levies that they are forced to pay. Now, they're saying that despite the strike action organized by motorists under the aegis of the Joint Drivers Welfare Association, the situation has remained the same way, and they still have to pay multiple levies to members of the Lagos State Parks and Garage Management.
Okay, I think this is, well, it's, this is nothing new. This is, we've been in this position in Lagos for a long time. What you had in Lagos, obviously, is a duplicity or multiplicity of levies and taxes, in quotes, that are being charged by various parties. Last year, there were supposed efforts to try and streamline some of those fees and levies. Once by the, I think it was initially by the state government when they tried to, that culminated in the setup of the parks and garages. But what we've seen obviously in trying to balance the political needs of for political continuity, the government at in a particular point basically had to fall to the pressures of what used to be the NURTW leadership, has now transformed into the Lagos Parks and Garage leadership in Lagos. So basically, who are the losers are obviously the drivers and also the people who use their services on a daily basis. But this is very reflective of where we are as Nigeria, basically and going into the elections tomorrow, where people are trying to assuage various interests instead of looking at what is strategically important to alleviate the situation of the citizens in the country. As far as from my position and where I sit, what the guys who are in power today basically are more interested in parties like former URTW, now Parks and Garages, and their leadership in ensuring that they keep them in political power, as against trying to sort out the issues that have resulted in increased bus fares and transport fares around the state, which have happened as a result of these multiple fees and levies being incurred by the drivers. The truth is that whatever the drivers incur, they would pass on to the passengers and the consumer. So, and right now they have their various forces, the multiple levies that they're having to pay, and also there's the impact of the fuel prices and fuel availability, and obviously even the general inflation in the country. So they're going to put all those costs together, obviously, and pass it on. Ideally, we would have seen in a situation where at least you're able to standardize whatever levy is being collected and be able to reduce it, but I don't see that happening anytime soon in reality. I really don't, especially now that the politicians have identified that these guys are a very strong influence on whoever wins, whoever sinks or swims in the elections, especially in this election year. It's not going to change anytime soon.
All right, let's look at a few messages coming through. Wale says, tomorrow is the only day you're more powerful than the people who rule you. What would you do with the power granted to you? El Como says, Mr. Epa has been released by the Finnish police already. Yes, we know that.
I think we talked about that.
Yes, we did. Shagun says, please let us accept the results of the elections, whoever the winners are. This is a democracy and we need a peaceful country to live in. And Abbas says, What message has Simon Ekpa passed that Nnamdi Kanu didn't say? He only continued for where Nnamdi stopped. Both men hid in foreign lands and ordered the killings of innocent citizens. IPOB is a proscribed group that should have been reined in, but people kept drumming support for them. And this is almost leading to a situation similar to the reign of Boko Haram. Okay, let's move on to the next.
I think it's important to say something with respect to what Abbas has just said, because it's actually very important. IPOB has taken the wrong path. This is something that I've said. I mean, Nnamdi Kanu actually mentioned me in one of his speeches as an enemy of the Igbo people.
Wow.
But it doesn't change the fact that some of the grievances are legitimate. Heck, even Boko Haram had legitimate grievances at the beginning. It is how we handled it as a nation. And this is one of Nigeria's most fundamental issues. We have this way of reaching for the stick as a first resource rather than the carrots. When people are having grievances, and there are grievances all over this country, in every one of the 36 states, there are grievances. We have this habit of trying to suppress everything. You remember the physics, the theory of the bottle, when you cork a bottle and then apply heat to it, you don't let the air escape. What will happen? The bottle will shatter. That's what is happening in our country right now. The bottle is shattering. And like I said on this station some years ago, I'm not afraid of Nnamdi Kanu. I'm afraid of what is to come after him. Simon Ekpa has just scratched the surface. What could come after Simon Ekpa if we do not address the poor behavior of Nigeria towards the Igbo people after the war? Could be a lot worse.
All right, let's take a break. And when we return, we'll continue the conversation. Remember, you can keep your messages coming, 0809 440 981. This is Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1.
First Bank.
Hey,
Chibuzor, what's that? The people talking, was it from your end?
No, I don't think. I'm actually in a room. I'm in the meeting room, so I don't think it's coming in from my end. But I'm going to have to switch probably to my device, mobile, because I'm running out of juice on my laptop, but I don't have an alternate power
Is
here.
Sam still there? Is Sam still
Are you
there?
still hearing?
He's outside.
Are you hearing any sounds coming through?
No, not at the moment.
No, not at the moment. Okay. The market, you've left the market.
I've been in the same place since. How are you doing, Cheta?
Alive.
So sorry. My bad.
Sorry for yourself. YouTube can activate a First Money wallet and receive cash, make transfers, pay bills, and lots more, all with your phone number. Simply download the First Money wallet app or dial *894
Yeah, it's fine.
to enjoy boundless transactions.
I just went to have a quick chat with Sam.
All money now on First Money. You First Bank.
Hey, what's up? This is Dario. Stay tuned. Stay locked right here on Smooth 98.1.
You're listening to Freshly Pressed on Smooth 98.1. We have our analysts in this morning, Cheta and Chibuzor. Let's go on to this story that comes from The Nation. Now, the federal government says it's not in breach of the Supreme Court's order, restraining it from enforcing the February 10th time limit for the validity of the old 200, 500, and 1,000 naira notes. Now, the Attorney General of the Federation, Justice Abubakar Malami, gave the government's position during a weekly ministerial briefing in Abuja.
Yeah, so on this question, on this issue, and despite the pain that's causing me. Oh, by the way, shout outs to the toll gate guy the other day that I borrowed money from to pay my toll. It was a very interesting. Got there, I didn't have cash. POS was not working. They held my voice and said, "Are you not that Cheta on Smooths?" And I said, "Yes." I said, "Okay." He put his hand in his pocket and gave me the money. And then I paid my toll. Nice guy. Now back to Malami. Malami is right in this case. What Buhari did, because I think the Supreme Court order was an ex parte order. A lot of people don't seem to, from a lot of commentary that I've seen, a lot of people don't seem to understand what an ex parte order is. And this is where Mr. Sio Ekemesi would have been useful here because they're lawyers. An ex parte order is when you go to, so for example, if me and you, if I vex for you and you are nowhere to be found, I will just go to the courts and then get an ex parte order without you being there against you. You understand? But ex parte orders tend to have time limits because the most basic precept of the law is that the other side needs to be able to present his case. So in this particular case, for this particular, the Supreme Court ex parte order is supposed to last 7 days. When Buhari came to address all of us, and for the record, I didn't bother to wake up to listen to the address. But when he came to address all of us, that was day 8. So Buhari simply waited the order out. So whoever planned that strategy for him, he do him well. So in this, technically speaking, Malami is right. It doesn't change the fact that the whole thing has caused some unnecessary suffering and everything. But in terms of technicalities, I think the big lesson from all of this is that we are just what they call that. We, the people of Nigeria, are collateral damage in power gains by our elites. That's the big lesson that shows up from this, because there's a bit of me that feels some schadenfreude when I see various APC figures crying about the narrative, because all sorts of nonsense happened under Buhari and people didn't complain. So in as much as I think that Buhari and Emefiele are wrong on this, there's that bit of schadenfreude. But if we are to stick strictly to principles, they are wrong.
All right, let's look at some messages we have coming through. This one is from Dan Okuda, and he says the arrest of Simon Ekpa is coming at the right time. It's good riddance to bad rubbish. He can't be living a life of luxury in Finland and causing pains and anguish here among ordinary Nigerians. Emeka Onelum says, sometimes I wonder how these drivers cope. At every bus stop, there are thugs waiting to collect money. A keke rider I met told me he pays at least 5,000 naira per day on multiple taxes, and that's aside petrol and maintenance of his keke. All right, let's go on to this story. And this one comes from Premium Times. The Defense Headquarters says troops of Operation Whirl have apprehended one of the masterminds of the 28th March terrorist attack on the Abuja-Kaduna train service. The Director of Defense Media Operations made this known at a bi-weekly news briefing on the operations of the armed forces. Now, he says the suspect was one of 3 terrorists apprehended by the troops at Damba community in Chikun local government area of Kaduna State on the 14th of February. Chibuzor? All right. Okay.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yes.
So basically, this story is basically telling us that but we're back to one of our many incidents which shouldn't be happening in this country. Obviously, the train attack on the Abuja-Kaduna, and it's like he said, it's just speaking to the capture of what the army or defense headquarters has claimed to be the capture of the masterminds behind it and the amount of and what they were able to get out of it. My major challenges with some of these instances is when we reduce. I would like, a lot of times, I like the focus of these instances to be on the human impact, where we actually talk about the people that have been impacted and the lives that have been turned over. Maybe then all Nigerians will be able to look at this from a single point of view. We've had these things escalate over a period of time from when it was somebody else's problem to when it has become all our problems now. And it's a major security major security issue that is affecting every aspect of our livelihood, from how we're able to produce, people on the farms, people able to move around. Nigeria even as an attractive location for anything apart from people coming with portfolios and getting money and taking it out. We obviously would like to see much more of this, but we also want to see more of the people who have been affected and impacted and who have been taken as hostage being released. And at the long run, once we see more of this happening in a shorter period of time, hopefully, it serves as a disincentive for people who also want to go to this part. At the moment, there are few disincentives, and what we have started to see are opportunistic kidnaps, where gangs of boys who are sitting down the street who are broke, just I can kidnap somebody and get some money out of it. I can hold people hostage and get money out of it, because obviously these guys are going to negotiate with me. And what's the worst that can happen? We need to break that cycle in this country. Some other countries, you can't even do that with animals, but Nigeria is beginning to rank up there with places like Colombia and Nicaragua and other places we don't want to talk about for the wrong reasons. So yes, it's a good story by the army and the defense headquarters. They've done this. We need to see a lot more, but like Cheta always points out, the army is overstretched, doing what they should not be doing in the right places. The police is under-equipped and also underfunded and undersized. So one of the things that would happen or should happen at the end of tomorrow's elections and the entire election cycle, that whoever comes into power needs to have a very deep look at what is our security infrastructure. How do we want to run it? From the part where we have limited funds, but we have actual needs in sorting this out because it impacts on every other thing. How do we solve this problem? Unfortunately, in this election cycle, I've not seen enough of the right questions being asked to the various candidates. We've actually kept the election discussions the most mediocre, looking at people are talking of their past achievements, trying to point fingers in other people's past achievements, a lot of ethnic and tribal sentiments being flown around, and people not asking the right questions in a situation where we actually should be looking at where are we going next as a country at this particular period. So, but good work to Defense Headquarters and Nigerian Army, at least at this point.
I want to jump on something that Chibuzor has said, because it's, I think it's, so, sorry. The organization I work for released a survey last Friday, and we asked questions with regards to presidential elections, the governorship elections, the down ballot elections. And one of the things that really broke my heart during the collection of the survey was we spoke to 11,534 people about the elections. Every single one of them had something to say about the presidential elections. But by the time we got to the down ballot elections, only a third of our respondents had something to say about the governorship elections. Only a fifth of our respondents, 1 in 5, had something to say about the Senate elections. 1 in 6 had something to say about the House of Reps, and 1 in 7 about the State House of Assembly. It's all of the noise, all of the talk, it's about the presidential election. And we expect things to change. It doesn't matter who wins, whether it is Atiku, Bola Tinubu, or Peter Obi, or outside chance Rabi Okwankwaso. It doesn't matter who wins. That person will still need to work with 36 state governors, 109 senators, 360 member House of Reps, and an unknown number of State House of Assembly legislators. You see how the state governors have literally converted state House of Assemblies to rubber stamps, and you expect Nigeria to get better. If we don't start looking very seriously at all of these down ballot elections, nothing will change. It doesn't matter who is president, and we'll be sat here in 4 years' time saying the same thing over and over again. They tire on that. Who are the people contesting for Senate in where you live?
Well, I know them, but I'd rather not call their names. I'd rather not call their names for certain reasons.
I rest my case.
All right. And let's see what messages we have coming through. Joseph says, how can IPOB members continue the killing of their own people simply because they believe their people have been treated poorly? And that is from David. Osahon says, we'll be here again in 4 years' time preaching the same song. And Joseph Meni says the so-called Naira redesign has done more harm than good because the money bags and politicians already have this new Naira. This makes the program useless because people are hungry and angry. All right, let's move on to the next story. Chibuzor, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Zibby.
Okay, so let's move on to the Daily Trust. A federal commissioner of the National Population Commission representing Benue State has assured Nigerians of credible 2023 housing and population census. Now, she gave this assurance in a speech at a one-day capacity building workshop for journalists on effective reporting of the Population and Housing Census.
So I don't want to
So-
dump on, and her name is Patricia Kupchi. I don't want to dump on Mrs. Kupchi's optimism, and God knows that Nigeria needs a census. We need a credible census. We've not had one since 2006. And a child that was born in 2006 is almost eligible to vote, as in would be able to vote in the next election. That's how long ago we had the last census. Having said that, there are so many things that are mitigating against the census. The first one is money. Nigeria is broke, bankrupt, and this election alone is costing us $7 per registered voter, which is about $670 million. A census will be more costly. Where are we going to draw that money out of? Stop fuel subsidy. I think that's the only thing that can bring that money out. Secondly, the insecurity issues that will prevent the enumeration of people will not go away. So, I don't know. I would see.
Wrong timing? Wrong timing?
Yeah, wrong timing. I think that in many respects, if I would find a way to sample the population, probably using either the mobile networks or the organizations such as Coca-Cola, because they distribute everywhere. We need to find intelligent ways to bring down the cost of enumerating our people for now, until we have pacified the country enough that enumerators can move around in peace and safety. Because above all, that is the primary thing, the lives of enumerators. We don't want to put them at unnecessary risk. Then before we start talking of money.
Osahon says, Cheta says this every 4 years, but no one listens. The National Assembly elections are more important than the presidential
Osahon,
election.
at least somebody has been listening, because I've been sitting here since 2011 saying this in every year.
We'll be here again in 4 years' time preaching the same song. Ian says, I have candidates for the presidency, governorship, Senate, and House of Representative positions. I think a number of people are like me. Shegun says, brilliant message from Cheta about the other elections. People, please participate in all the elections, states and federal. And Abbas says, every country in the world would not accept secession. It's happening in Spain right now with the Catalonia. Even force is used at times. How many times have we had representatives from the Southeast in the National Assembly talk about the issue of marginalization or the need for Biafra? Our constitution puts Nigeria first. Nnamdi's calls were simply political after power changed hands. Well, that is all the time that we have for Freshly Pressed this morning. Thank you for your messages. Thank you for listening. And special thanks to our analysts this morning, Cheta and Chibuzor. Do stay with us. There is a lot more.
Thank you.
Breakfast.
Zibby, thank you, Lagos. Have a nice day tomorrow.
Are we off this and the mic still hot? Huh?
Live stream.